Stroking this a lot.
You stroke that tash.
I'm gonna.
Yeah.
Do you like it?
Um.
Fucking hell. The pause was already too long.
Define like. If like is tolerate, yes. I absolutely like it a lot.
On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 is I fucking hate that stash. 10 is I absolutely love that stash. Where are you at? Be honest.
Solid 2. But look, it's your face accessory. Who am I to judge?
Why a 2?
You're a very attractive man. I don't think any more needs adding. I'll say that.
Well rescued. Really well rescued. I did say just before we hit record that the only reason I'm keeping it is because every time I look in the mirror, it makes me fucking laugh.
Yeah.
Which I think is a good enough reason.
Mm-hmm.
It just every day. There's the mirror, there's my face, smile. I think it's a good way to start the day.
What does the wife think?
Not keen. Not keen.
From a tickling her face sort of perspective, from a looking at it perspective, what does she not like?
I'll say this. She came out of the bedroom the other day. I was at the bottom end of the house down the hallway holding a cup of coffee, and she came out the bedroom and looked directly at the stash and pulled this face. She went literally like this. So I think that probably says it all. You know, a picture speaks 1,000 words.
Yeah.
She doesn't. She's not on board.
No.
No.
There we go.
So I'm keeping it.
So you're keeping it because you just want to repel her. She's just on you too much.
It's just, dude, it's like a demonstration of defiance. You know, yeah. I've always had a problem with authority, and this is just my latest incarnation of how I rebel against the establishment.
It could backfire. We'll probably cut this out of the podcast, but she could retaliate in a very obvious way, unless she could start growing hair in places that you don't like.
Fucking hell, that's not where I thought you were going to go with that statement.
Well, I was talking about the armpits. What are you talking about?
One of those fucking Veet strips on it. Anyway.
Right, we're going to cut all of that. What are we talking about this week?
Good topic this week. We're going to talk about the difference between 1% salespeople and salespeople who feel like they should be operating at a higher level but aren't. And it's probably not what a lot of people think. There's a specific OS operating system that I've seen time and time again gets adopted by the people that constantly perform at a very high level. So I think we're probably going to share some insights as to what that operating system is and how people can adopt it for themselves.
With a bit of face furniture and armpit hair smatterings in there as well.
I mean, basically that's it. You just got to grow a stash. That's it. Job done. Podcast over.
Channel your inner Tom Selleck. Not that anyone that listening to this podcast would even know who the hell Tom Selleck is. Channel him.
Burt Reynolds, Billy D. Williams from Star Wars.
There we go. Still no one knows. They're young people. We're old.
Fuck. Well, I'm old.
You're old. I'm old at heart. Anyway, I normally end up kicking these things off, and no one cares about my opinion. Why don't you start?
Of course they do.
Yeah,
all right.
A few people.
I'll start. I think a lot of closers constantly pursue tactics, right? What do I say when the prospect says this? And what's the best way to answer this objection and stuff like that? Tactics, right? And it's not that tactics don't come into play. Of course they do. But the best tactics in the world will fall flat if they are delivered in a way that isn't in alignment with who that person is. So let me give you an example. You're on a call with somebody, you're trying to hold them accountable to their goals. You know, you're having the conversation, you're showing them some hard truths, all of this kind of good stuff. that's only effective if the delivery is correct. And if the delivery is felt like it comes from a place where you care, like and this is, we talk about this, right, inside of our group, the difference between external pressure and internal tension. External pressure means that the prospect feels like you're trying to coerce them to come into the program for your benefit. Internal pressure is when the prospect feels like you are trying to do the right thing for them. Okay. And that really has got a lot to do with energy, how that is delivered. So how that plays into what the top 1% do is the top 1% are optimized, right? Meaning you're there, you're on the call, you're holding somebody accountable, you're delivering some harsh truths, and all the time your bed's not made, there's dishes piling up in the sink, you didn't work out this morning, you said you were going to go for a 3-mile jog and didn't, you said you were going to eat 150 grams of protein a day and you snacked on cheese and toast. And do you know what I mean? So, and a lot of people would say, and I've had this battle with a lot of closers. They've like, oh, I just don't see how that's relevant. And I'll explain how it's relevant. And it's kind of deep psychology. And if you've never read the book Psycho-Cybernetics, you should. Written by a guy called Maxwell Maltz. And it describes how all of us are where we are in the world because of how we see ourselves. So if you're a fat dude, like I was, you're a fat dude because you see yourself as a fat dude, right? If you're a slim guy who goes for the jogs, who hits the gym, who watches his protein, like I now do, it's because you've changed the perception of yourself. You've changed how you see yourself in the world. And you no longer identify with somebody who goes, oh, well, yeah, I'm just fat. You identify with somebody who goes, no, fuck that. That's what a fucking fat person would say. Right? So it's about how you can't act a certain way without being a certain way. Or at least maybe you can if you're Leonardo DiCaprio, but you know, most of us aren't Leonardo DiCaprio. So optimizing yourself, having what Cole used to refer to as a high say-do ratio, which means if you say you're going to do it, you've got to fucking follow through and do it, because otherwise your brain knows that you're lying to you. Your brain knows that you're lying. It knows that you're faking. It knows that you're pretending. And it has an uncanny way of reminding you of that right when you don't need it to, which is usually when you're trying to close somebody. And your brain goes, yeah, but you're a piece of shit. And you're like, oh, and all of a sudden the message that you're trying to deliver, there'll be like, the prospect probably won't pick up on it consciously, but subconsciously they'll be like, something was just off about that guy. Didn't like him, didn't believe what he was saying. You know, because human beings are conscious animals, right? We pick up on shit like that. Again, not consciously, but subconsciously. So, dude, one of the biggest things is to make sure your shit is optimized. And I cannot tell you how many closers, how many setters have optimized themselves mentally, physically. They start taking care of their environment. And all of a sudden, their close rate starts to go up. Their set rate starts to go up. They haven't changed the script. They haven't learned some, you know, diamond fucking objection handling framework. It's just that they optimize themselves. So now when they're delivering a message, when they're delivering an objection handle, it's coming from a place of authenticity. You know, anybody listening to this, think to yourself, have I ever heard something? I'll give you a good example, right? I was listening to, I don't know, I can't remember what it was, maybe a podcast, maybe a YouTube video about flat earth, right? Now, I find that shit funny as fuck. I just think, like, who actually thinks that? Right? Like, is there anybody out there that actually believes it? Anyway, I was listening to this, watching this video, podcast, I think it was. And this guy was a flat earther. And it wasn't what he was saying, because he couldn't back it up with any kind of science or anything like that. But dude, he was so fucking convicted. He was so convicted that I started to go, fucking hell, maybe I'm the idiot. Quickly shook it off, obviously. But that's what conviction will do for you. it will make the person on the receiving end question their own, like, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I am wrong. So that's why conviction has to be high. Conviction cannot be high unless you're optimized. And if you aren't optimized, the person you're speaking to will get a little sense of, yeah, I don't know. I think this guy's full of fucking shit.
Mhm.
That's my 5 minutes of
Yeah,
why optimization is important. Shoot.
I couldn't agree more. And it's the reason why when we were putting together our community, I put together a whole module on performance optimization.
Fire module as well. Absolutely fire module.
And it's the stuff that, people just don't associate stupidly with performance, especially in the arena that we operate, high ticket sales. Now it comes down to my skill set. It comes down to my ability to say particular words at the right time, to reframe, psychology, all that good stuff. Of course, that is important. But if you are not optimized in yourself, a really easy example, right? Have you ever forgot to brush your teeth in the morning?
Yep.
And then you go out in the day and all of a sudden you realize that, oh, my teeth feel like fuzzy.
Got them
Have I got
fuzzy
like
teeth? Yeah.
food in my teeth? And then just suddenly you feel icky and horrible and off. That is something as small and stupid as forgetting to brush your teeth. Now, let's say something, a bit higher tier, like you went to bed at 1 o'clock in the morning, you woke up at 6 o'clock, having gotten up at 3 o'clock to go for a wee. So collectively, you've had 4 hours of sleep, maybe 30 minutes of deep REM sleep. So you are operating nowhere near your optimal frequency. So do you know what? The first couple of hours of your day, you might feel a bit groggy. You have coffee to prop yourself up. You feel like, yeah, I'm doing good. 1, 2 o'clock comes, absolute crash. Your cognition is shot. Even simple conversations feel like a struggle because your brain is searching for the answer. That's not sleeping well. Now you put on top of that, well, I've only drunk coffees today, which are diuretics. So they're not hydrating. All right. It's like 99% water, but it purges water from your body, right? And you have the caffeine drop. It has a half-life. That kicks in. So if you're not hydrated, again, the performance optimization module, I broke it down. Like even 2% being underhydrated, the effect that it has on you, going down another 2%. That's sleep and water. Now let's say you're not exercising. Now let's say you're not eating a good diet. Like you said, you're not getting your 150 grams of protein. The really simple way to think about it is, think of it like a science experiment, right? If the outcome of the experiment we were trying to get is that the prospect closes, that we sell them, we sell the transformation, we facilitate that. Why would you not control every variable in that experiment to try to guarantee the highest success rate of the outcome?
Yeah.
Because the skill set is, assign whatever number you want to it, 20, 50%. If the other 50 to 80%, which is the internal work, showing up as the best version of yourself to, with conviction, help the person on the other end of the Zoom become the best version of their self, how the hell do you do that when most of the variables have been ignored?
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. And dude, the big one that a lot of people overlook is sleep. And I remember watching, can't remember the dude's name. He was like several years, he was the winner of the CrossFit games globally, the dude that won several years in a row. And I remember watching an interview with that guy, just because I'm interested in, high performers of all walks of life, right? And I'm watching this interview and they said, what's the one thing that you shifted that made the biggest difference? Straight away, guy didn't miss a beat, just went sleep. And they went, all right, tell us a bit more about that. And he went, sleep is like, it's a cheat code. Getting the right amount of sleep, the right amount of REM sleep, optimizing your schedule. So every single night, and I started to do this, and honestly, dude, it made a massive difference. I go to bed at the same time every single night, 10 o'clock, not a minute before, not a minute later. That's when I go to bed. I will typically get between 6.5 and 7 hours sleep. I will wake up exactly 6.5, 7 hours later, naturally. right? And I've tried getting 8. It just doesn't, for whatever reason, it just doesn't work for me. It doesn't optimize me anymore. If anything, I feel slightly groggier if I get too much sleep. But I will now, I'm in such a routine that I will wake up 6.5 to 7 hours later every single morning. Naturally, no alarm clock fucking getting me up, none of that. Just wake up naturally with the dawn. And dude, it made the biggest difference to how I think, to how I feel, you know, mentally, physically, everything. And that dude was right. Sleep is an absolute fucking cheat code. And so many people overlook that. They're like, well, I'm hitting the gym and I'm getting my protein and I'm watching my diet and I'm doing my cardio and I'm reading my books and I'm training. Well, how's your sleep? Well, yeah, it's a bit fucked. You're like, dude, that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
Get yourself some magnesium, glycinate. I tell you what, I take a triple supplement of magnesium. It's glycinate, threonate, and one other. Can't remember. And I take that in combination with a zinc tablet every single night, literally right before I go to bed, 5 to 10, magnesium and zinc, and then go to bed. And my Christ, did that make a difference? Mm-hmm. Made a massive difference. And I can't remember. I think it was a Huberman podcast that I was listening to, Andrew Huberman. And he was talking about why bad sleep can be caused by a magnesium or a zinc deficiency. Fuck it. I'm like, well, I got nothing to lose. I'll just get myself some magnesium and some zinc. Started to pop it every single night right before bed. Absolute game changer in terms of my sleeping pattern and my schedule and you know, how solidly I sleep and all that kind of stuff. Game changer. Magnesium and zinc. Top tip. So I think too many people overlook sleep.
Yeah, it's one of the lessons in the module that sleep is a performance multiplier.
Yeah.
And when you go down to, you know, like the chemistry level, that's when stuff like cellular regeneration happens. That's when your body heals. That's when it, you know, if you think of your body or, you know, your brain as a computer storage, it gets cleared out, things get processed, things get learned when it's, you know, healing and resting and all that sort of stuff. So if it's so broken, like most people just don't have the basics of a bedtime routine. Yeah. And it's going to sound really basic, and some people might listen and be like, oh, do you know what? I'm not a kid. I don't need a bedtime routine. I can go to sleep when I want. Honestly, like you said, it's just such a cheat code. Just having such a simple routine of, do you know what? 10, 20, 30 minutes before bed, I'm going to put on some blue light blocking glasses. I'm going to turn off the screens. I'm going to start shutting my brain down so that when I actually get into bed, I don't lie there for an hour, just, you know, cogs turning, thinking about everything that happened in the day, thinking about what's happening tomorrow, thinking about everything bad that's ever happened to me in my life, depending on, you know, how busy your brain is. Just switching off and being able to get that rest that you need. Yeah. And again, you don't get that rest that you need. What typically happens? Well, you're going to be quite reactive because you're short and you're groggy. So let's say it comes down to an emotionally charged discovery or objection handling, and because you're not optimized, because your sleep was off, you're reactive. Well, I need to go away and think about it. Well, what do you mean you need to go away and think about it? Fucking sail gone. Yep. Okay, no problem. Appreciate you need a little bit of time. What is it you need to think about? But because you're undercharged, you show up reactive. Like you said, a lot of it is subconscious communication, right? And you won't even realize it at the time. You'll probably come away from that thinking, no, I did really well there. And then you go back and watch it the next day after having a good night's sleep. You're like, why did I, oh, what, you know, they said something in Discovery. And I've done this before. We've both done it, right? Where you've reviewed your own sales calls or other people's sales calls, and they've told you something in Discovery. But let's say you have had a bad night's sleep. You were under-optimized. You hadn't eaten a good diet that day. You hadn't drunk enough water. They've given you all the ammunition in Discovery. You get to the objection handling. You've just forgotten it. Yeah. And then you go back and watch. You're like, oh my God.
How did I miss that?
How did that slip out? That was massive. But because you are not optimized, you've lost the deal. Yeah.
And hydration for the same reason.
Hydration.
You know, I try and get 2.5 to 3 liters of water every single day. Now, apparently my PT says this counts as water because it's green tea, decaffeinated, no sweetener or anything. So it's like, and green tea is full of antioxidants and stuff like that. So Honestly, I find it really easy because I really like green tea. I find it really easy to get my 3 liters in because I just chug these all day.
Yeah.
You know? So, and that I found made a big difference to how I perform as well. Just being hydrated.
Mhm.
And something ridiculous, you'll know better than I will. Isn't it something like even a 10% dehydration affects anything up to 20% of your cognitive ability? Or those are the stats? Don't quote me on that. Something like that.
The difference between being, like I said, so I'll see if I can find the actual stat.
I know it's a big difference. Just a slight amount of dehydration can affect performance by a huge amount.
It's even as much as like 2%, right? So let me see, rather than me trying to quote it off the top of my head. Mm-hmm.
Everybody amuse yourselves whilst
Everyone
we
amuse yourselves, we'll cut
whilst we
this.
fact check ourselves.
Yeah, right. So this is what we've got in here, right? 100% hydrated, your brain signals fire fast, your mood and memory are solid, you feel calm and sharp. Going down to 98% hydrated, you start feeling tired, scattered, and irritable from being 98% hydrated.
Just
Right?
3% difference.
Yeah. So our bodies are what? 75% water. So you take away 2% of what you should have, it's massive effects. Coming down to 96% hydrated, you start forgetting things mid-call, you struggle to listen and pay attention, and your emotional control drops. That is 4% less than optimal hydration, right? Coming down to, how far did I get with it? 94%, start getting headaches, dry mouth, low energy. Your nervous system actually starts taking a hit. And then I think I go all the way down to a little bit more than that. But yeah, your brain is 75% water. Your blood is mostly water and salt. So, caveat to all of this, a lot of people go and chug water and then they're just going for a wee every 30 minutes. Just water, stupidly by itself, isn't all that hydrating. You need some electrolytes. You need some good salt. Like
Pink
Himalayan
Himalayan
pink
salt.
salt. Yeah, Celtic sea salt, Baja, whatever you want. Just actual salt. And if you want to go really micro on this, there's a woman, I forget her name, talking about like regular table salt.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the salt that's had all the good sodium removed from it. So
Right.
it's just absolutely terrible for your body. Ruins your kidneys in obviously two larger quantities. So you go to like the older generation, you say to them, well, put more salt in your diet if you want to be better hydrated. They're like, no, salt is terrible for you. And you're like, okay, yeah, the wrong salt, bad salt is putting the proper salt into your diet that is, I think, is something stupid like 75 natural, what's the bloody word? 75 chemicals, something that our body needs. And, particular salts have like
Minerals.
minerals, gone from my head, have like 60 minerals in the salt. So it's incredibly good for you. And again, something as stupid as it will take you, 5 seconds to do in the morning. I have a pot of it on my kitchen side. As soon as I get up in the morning, glass of water, just pinch the salt into my mouth, drink it. If I forget to do that in the morning, big noticeable difference.
You feel it. Yeah.
Stack that on top of, I had a bad night's sleep. Stack that on top of, I've gone out of the house forgetting to brush my teeth. Stack that on top of, oh, maybe I forgot to have breakfast this morning, or I grabbed something quick on the go. That's a whole nother area that we could explore.
Yeah.
Just feeding your body garbage. Quick convenience food. Do you know what? If you're on your way to holiday and you're picking something up from WH Smith's at the airport, grabbing something quick, treating yourself every once in a while. We've got to do it. We're human, right? If you want to show up and perform, do you think Usain Bolt, before he was getting ready to run the 100 meters, is there feeding his body crap?
Probably a bad analogy because he used to eat 20 chicken nuggets before he
did
ran
he?
the
Well,
100
fine.
meters. But your point is on point.
He's the exception. Most athletes, and again, this is in the module, right? I say to people to show up like a high performance athlete, not a university student. Because what do most university students do? They live on pot noodles and, processed meat because they don't want to cook. And it's the same as most people, closers, will feed themselves because they just don't see the importance of it.
Yeah.
And so for me, I've been off the gym for 2 months now because I've had injuries, I've had illnesses, and I've gone from in the last 2 months being about 7 to 8% body fat to at the minute I'm like 15% body fat. I feel miserable in myself. My mood is so noticeably different because I've just got injuries that, like, my bicep is about to blow up. So I can't really do any upper body work. Even brushing my teeth, the tendon is so about ready to snap that just the motion of doing that, I can't lift anything. I can't really do anything. So I can go out for walks. I can still eat a diet. I can still go and train legs. But it's such a part of my routine. It's such a way of holding myself to a standard. Without it, it has a massive impact on my performance.
Yeah. Feel a bit lost, don't you?
You do. And I remember, like, when I first started going to the gym when I was, I don't know, 16, 17, really getting into it. And if I ever missed a day, my mood the next day, I was a horrible person to be around because it was just such an hour of going out, endorphins, dopamine, just stress relief. That was like, you get to the end of the day, I'm going to go and leave it all on the gym floor. When you don't have that, it's you almost get into a cycle of sometimes you don't realize how bad you feel. Now, you could probably talk about this because you've gone on a big weight loss journey in the last couple of years, and you get to a point where you don't even realize how much weight you've put on, how much things are suffering. And then all of a sudden you look at yourself in the mirror or someone shows you a picture and you're like, fucking hell.
Yeah. Well, that picture I showed you the other day, I showed
fuck
everybody in the group that picture of me from a couple of years ago. It was fucking horrendous, dude.
Yeah.
But when you see yourself every day, you just don't, you don't really notice it until, you know, somebody fucking says something, you know, bring back fat shaming, because it worked wonders for me. It took my wife saying to me, babe, you know, I love you no matter what. I don't want to see you with diabetes or in an early fucking grave. And I was like, oh shit, I got to do something about this. And it's been a journey, you know, but and here, I think here's the thing, dude, is like, nobody's saying you've got to live like a fucking monk, you know, but it's the 80-20. So long as you're optimized 80% of the time, nobody's saying don't go out on Saturday night and have a few beers. Nobody's saying don't have a few slices of fucking pizza. Like, you know, it's not about trying to be a performance athlete 100% of the time. But it does mean that if you treat your position as a closer or a setter or whatever it is, bearing in mind we exist in a high performance environment, if you treat that job like a high performance person, if you start thinking, what would somebody, Usain Bolt, use the example, how does he optimize himself most of the time? Well, dude, he's getting the right amount of sleep. He's drinking the right amount of water. He's getting his electrolytes in. He's hitting his protein goals. He's training. He's sleeping. He's drinking. He's eating. He's doing all the things. And the reason is because that's literally his career. Being optimized and being at peak performance is literally what makes him money. Well, fucking newsflash, it's the same for you if you're a closer or a setter. Being optimized is what makes you money. So why wouldn't you treat that shit with the credibility it deserves?
Yeah. Have you ever heard Lewis Hamilton talking about, I can't remember the exact weight, something like if he was a certain amount of pounds heavier, he lost half a second in a corner.
Yeah.
Something like that. Now, he's in a Formula One car that weighs like, 100 kilos. They're ridiculously light. Obviously, again, they train like athletes because they are.
Yeah.
Although they're sat down, it's still a very physical, mental performance, right? Even something as stupid as a couple of pounds.
Yeah.
He would lose half a second in a corner. Over the course of, 20 odd laps that they do, that 1 second in a corner compounds. And that goes from him being, top of the podium to absolutely nobody, somewhere down the bottom of the table. That's how micro you can go. And again, there may be people that listen to this and be like, do you know what? It's a bit overkill. I'm doing all right. Maybe I'm doing like 5, 10K a month. I'm happy with where I am. And if you are, do you know what? All power to you. The way I would look at it is, if we had the ability to make life-changing amounts of money that you don't really find in other career paths, you could retire yourself, your family, use this as a vehicle to go and invest and create generational wealth, why wouldn't you become a little bit monk at the same time? Why wouldn't you go, I'm young enough, I'm ugly enough, I've got the motivation and drive to double down hard and go out there and do everything in my power, even if that did mean, forget the pizza, forget the beers, forget going out at the weekends. Maybe I'll do that every couple of months, every 6 months, right? For the next 2 years, I'm going to set myself up for the rest of my fucking life.
Well,
I don't think that even sounds like a sacrifice. I think that sounds like a fucking insane opportunity.
It's just a solid investment, isn't it? If let's say you're doing 10K a month. Could you do 15K a month by optimizing your health? If so, you've got to ask yourself whether just setting yourself a routine, eating some good food, getting some sleep, and fucking, having a high saving ratio. Would it be worth, if somebody said to you at the start of every month, I will give you an extra 5K if you optimize your sleep and eat the right food and get your steps in and all that kind of stuff? There's not many people would say no. What, an extra $5,000 a month, an extra 60,000 a year just for doing what I should do anyway? Yeah, count me in, dude. Slight pause. Fucking dog.
Sort the dog out.
Little cunt. Cut that out.
But yeah, like you said, that's... It's not like you've got to adopt a whole new lifestyle. Most people are still eating 2 to 3 meals a day. Okay? It really doesn't take that long to make a healthier food choice. It really isn't that much of a sacrifice to stop watching telly 30 minutes before you go to bed and pick up Psycho-Cybernetics, Dollars Flow to Me, the 4-hour work week, and just, start winding down, start visualizing who you want to become. And it's, we could go really deep, and it goes to like an identity level, right? Coming back to what you said towards the top of it, the way that you see yourself and the way that you operate will dictate the outcomes. So if you operate as the £10,000 a month version of yourself, that is the ceiling level. If you are willing to, like, again, coming back to like the overweight person, right? The overweight person doesn't start becoming fit by going to the gym and eating the food. It starts way before that, when they make the decision to make the switch in the first place. Because someone who doesn't make the decision to make the switch because they don't understand the compounding effect it has will give up on it.
Yeah.
It's why most people, new year, new me, they start the gym because it sounds good. There's no emotional drive. They go, I need to lose a bit of weight. Don't really mean anything to them. So there's been no identity shift. There's been no reason for them to act out of accordance to the way that they have been. So what happens? Well, 2, 3, 4 weeks later, if they even get that far, just goes in bin again. Fall back straight to what I was doing. And it's so easy. What is it, like 60, depending on who you listen to, something like 30 to 60 days to build a new habit?
Yep. 60, I heard.
Right. Yeah. 60 days of doing something. So if you were to, pick up a guitar for an hour a day, 60 days time, if you do that hour a day and you practice, you could become pretty good at, or on your way to playing the guitar. Stairway to heaven. If you go to bed every day, you just set an alarm at 9:30 that says wind down, go to bed. You set an alarm in the morning, you put a sticky note on the fucking fridge that says salt water. Before you go to bed, when you're cooking your evening meal for the day, you make your lunch for the next day.
Yep.
Little habits that compound and can have such stupidly massive effects. But we both know closers who, in the grand scheme of things, right, if you were to put them on some brain master intellectual thing, they're not really top in the chart. They're not super intellectual people. They're just so centered and grounded and do the basics. They can have a basic conversation and get better outcomes than the guys out there who are just like artists with their words. They can go through all these lovely, silky smooth word tracks and reframes, but it's so obvious there's something missing.
Yeah.
Being the internal work.
A closer said to me a little while ago, he said, "Oh, dude, I just really struggle with motivation." And that's the biggest mistake, right? Is waiting until you're motivated, because you're never going to be motivated to do difficult shit. It's not about having the motivation. It's about being disciplined. It's about being able to do the things you don't want to do. That's what it's about. You know, when it's fucking 5:30 and you're sat there on the edge of the bed and you're looking at your fucking Hokers, other running shoes are available, and you're like, Jesus Christ, fucking freezing outside. You know, you think I want to go and jog at 5:30 in the morning? No, dude, it's the last thing I want to do. But if I waited until I was motivated to do it, I'd never do it. So it's about having the discipline to do it rather than thinking you need to be motivated to do it. You're never going to be motivated to do it. No. Do I want to eat a greasy smash burger over, you know, a healthy chicken and rice curry or something? Yeah, of course I do. I love smash burgers. Smash burgers are my favorite. But if I eat a smash burger over a chicken and rice curry, I'm going to get fat. So do I want to? No. Do I do it? Yeah.
One of my previous mentors said to me, I said to him, I can't even remember what business it was that I was doing at the time. And I'd been really struggling. I just couldn't bring it together and I was losing motivation. And I said to him, we had a one-on-one call and I said, look, Russell, I'm really struggling. I'm losing the motivation to do this. And he just went, Josh, you only need motivation to do the shit you don't actually want to do. Mm. So let's get really black and white and honest. Do you want to do this? And I was, I had to think about it for a minute. And I was like, I do. And he was like, so remove motivation from your vocabulary. Just get uncomfortable with doing shit that you do not like. Because if you don't do the shit that you don't like, why do you think most people work in dead-end jobs for their entire career and retire with absolutely nothing to show for it? Mm. And yeah, when you have that perspective that motivation will get you absolutely nowhere. Like motivation, okay, it's what I call like the spark. But if that spark will quickly fade if you don't turn it into action and discipline. Mm. You have motivation to leave the 9 to 5, to build something of your own, to lose weight, whatever happened. There was something that sparked that curiosity and that interest. But motivation will not carry it through to actually doing it and getting the result. And if you think it will, you are lying to yourself.
Yeah, 100%. Top tips, dude.
Top tips. But, I mean, we've covered it. There's probably so much more that we could throw into this, right? We'll give another couple examples. Right, Jeff at the top of the episode said about, like the desk, the house, the cleaning your kitchen. Those are environmental factors. Other environmental factors, like the people that you spend your time with. We've probably all heard the saying, you are the product of the 5 people you spend your most time with, right? So if you are spending your time with people that aren't on the operating system, I think that was the title that we actually decided on, haven't used the words once, right? Talking about the operating system.
Top 1% closers OS.
Yeah. Get around people that have the operating system that you want. Mm-hmm. If you're not around those people, it's going to be very hard for you to push above and beyond that. Well, so there's environmental...
I want to talk about that because I had not an argument. I had a healthy debate with somebody about that exact principle, right? You become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And they said, bullshit. And I was like, okay, all right. Let's give you some stats. When, and you can fact check me on this. Not you, the audience, but you can. When an alcoholic goes to rehab, right? They go to rehab, they get clean, they come back out. What do you think the success rate of rehab is for alcoholics?
I mean, the optimist side would say hopefully high, but considering you're turning the story, I'm going to say it's on the other end of the scale.
95% of all people that come out of rehab, I think it's 95%, end up relapsing. Right? Now, the stats from the Vietnam War, maybe you don't know. If you don't know, a load of the soldiers in the Vietnam War got hooked on heroin because the Vietnamese would leave heroin around, and the soldiers started to use heroin, and like a huge amount of the soldiers, the Americans, the guys that came back from the Vietnam War, were heroin addicts. What do you think the success rate of rehab was for those people?
I mean, heroin's up there, isn't it?
Arguably a more powerful drug than alcohol.
Well, hang on. Okay, fine. Reading between the lines, possibly higher because, well, I'm going to say higher because of the environment. They're not in a war front
How
with
much
heroin.
higher?
How much higher?
Yeah.
100%.
Nearly 96% of all of the heroin addicts that came back from the Vietnam War ended up getting off heroin and staying off it for good. And the difference is an alcoholic comes out of rehab and goes straight back into their old environment. They're hanging out with the same people. They're in the same place. You try and convince an alcoholic not to buy a drink when he's at the bar with his mate. But for the soldiers that came back from Vietnam, they were no longer surrounded by heroin. They weren't friends with people on the street that can get it. They weren't like quote unquote junkies. No. They were back to a loving family. They were back in in their houses and surrounded by people that would be like, dude, what the actual fuck? Yeah. So 96 or 97% success rate of rehab when the environment was changed. 95% failure rate when the environment stays the same. Either way, doesn't matter which way you slice it or dice it, your environment makes a massive difference to your habits, to your skills, to how you see yourself in the world. Huge, massive difference. And it's one of the easiest things to change. Like if you're, I tried to do the best for my two boys, raising them. And one of the first things I instilled in them is your environment is everything, absolutely everything. So if you don't like the direction your life is taking, take a good, hard, honest look at your environment and the people you're spending time with and change it. Change it for a better group of friends. And fortunately enough, both of them have amazing friendship circles. Both of them are really solid, really grounded lads who work their asses off and do a great job. And I think, dude, it's huge. Environment is everything.
I can speak to that firsthand. So I think I've spoken about it on here before. It might have been in our group. I started my first business when I was 18. Made a lot of money very quickly. I moved out of home when I was 17 and got around the wrong people. And when you start having money and opportunities and you're around the wrong people, I was living with a guy who's a DJ. So we'd sit up for about 2 years until 3 o'clock in the morning, partaking in substances. And that was my life for 3 years, and I hated it. But it was this constant cycle. I'd get to the end of the evening of like, I'm never doing that again. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of money. It's affecting my performance. I don't like myself. I'm fucking, paranoid about everything all the time. And then it just becomes this habit. If you get to like 6 o'clock the next day, you've got nothing to do. So you're like, should we jump in the car then? Should we go see Keith? And that was it for 7 days a week. Good old Keith. That was 2 or 3 years of my life. I met my partner 7 years ago, gave it up in a day. A 3-year habit. And people used to say to me, it's like, how the fuck did you do it? Like, people go to rehab for that shit. And I was like, because everything in my life changed. I moved where I was living. I moved what I was doing on a day-to-day basis. I changed the people that I was around. Yeah. So it wasn't that I was even addicted to it. We were addicted to being bored. And that was how we filled the time. As soon as everything changed and you didn't have that boredom, you had the other people around you, it just changed so quickly. So that, that's my personal experience, right? And it's, coming back to another area that you could debate, I don't think you really can debate. How many people grow up hating their parents, then become a carbon copy of them?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, why do you think that is? Because for 15, 16, 17, 18 years of your life, you grew up with your parent. I had a really bad relationship with my father growing up, hated everything about him. I am a carbon copy because it was learned through repetition. So the things that I used to loathe about him, I loathe about myself. And And it's because of environment. It's because of proximity. It's learned habits of other people. So I don't think there is any argument that you are not the product of the people that you spend the most time with.
If you want to debate, then leave a comment. If you think otherwise, it's like the easiest example of this is if you're born in China, you grow up speaking Chinese, right? Why? It's because everybody around you speaks Chinese.
What an example.
If you were a little Caucasian lad like you or me, but at a very young age, you were taken to live in China, would you speak English or Chinese? You'd speak Chinese. That's because of your environment, right? It's like it absolutely has an impact on you. You spend enough time with people who drink a lot of coffee, even if you're not a coffee drinker, chances are huge you'll start to drink coffee. You start spending a lot of time with people that smoke, even if you're like, hate smoking, disgusting, cigarettes are terrible. You spend a lot of time with people that smoke, chances are massive you'll start smoking. And everybody goes, no, I wouldn't. No, I wouldn't. Yes, dude. Yes, because you cannot override how powerful environment is.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot
and it's such
override
stupid things. Like for growing up, no one in my family ever took out credit to do anything. No, credit cards are bad. You should never take out loans. You should never. It's too risky. You grow up with that sort of family, that becomes your operating system and your belief.
Right.
So we speak to prospects who are like, do you have access to credit? No, not touching credit. Don't want to go anywhere near it. Okay, that's interesting. Where does that come from? Well, my parents have never done it. No, they told me to never get a credit card. Okay, cool. Do they own their house? Well, yeah, they own their house. Okay, so did they have, 200, 300 grand to buy the house outright? No, they took out a mortgage. Okay, is that a form of credit? So do you see how leveraging credit for the right things can actually, improve your situation? I mean, but you're still trying to belief shift 18, 20, 30, 40 years worth of learned habits and beliefs.
Yeah.
You can overcome it very quickly with logic, but it's also trying to do that in a one call thing.
Yeah.
Coming back to high ticket sales, right? That's why it can be a struggle to sell to people, because everyone grows up in different environments, different habits, different beliefs, different mindsets, different identities, different families, different whatever. And unless you are the best version of yourself who can show up sharp, one of the, the small things that we'd agree with, Jordan Belfort, being sharp as attack. Most of his stuff is outdated now. We know that. Being sharp as attack is undeniable. You've got to be sharp. You've got to understand the people across from you. You've got to understand what's in their environment. And if you're not the best version of yourself, good fucking luck in addressing it.
100%, dude. Bombshell.
Anything else we should cover? This has been a long one. I've quite enjoyed this one.
Enjoyed this one. I think
it's important.
It will probably get the lowest download rate of any podcast because everybody wants tactics. But
exactly.
For the people that have A, listened to it and B, got this far, we will both tell you 100% if you optimize this shit, you will improve your life, your environment, your close rates, and the money that you make.
Yeah. But it's the same as anything, right? It's, high ticket sales. What does everyone put on their Instagram? It's objection handling reframes, because that's what people think they need. Okay, well, if that's the big juicy gravy sauce that you need, why are they giving it all the scripts away for free?
Right.
Because shock horror, that's not what you fucking need. That is the 80-20 of the 80-20.
Yeah.
Okay, then we go on to discovery. Then we go on to the inner work. Then we go on to, internal mastery. You can go down a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
But no, everyone's like, no, give me what I need. I need objection handling. You don't need fucking objection handling.
Give me the tactics.
Give me the tactics.
I'm happy
give me some face
eating like shit and getting 2 hours sleep a night and drinking half a bottle of Jack to get to sleep when I do get to sleep. But give me the tactics. Fucking hell, dude. Tactics are not going to work.
But it's, again, really easy example, right? Let's say you have your Friday night takeaway. How do you feel after you've sat there and smashed the dominoes? Well, you feel bloated, you feel lethargic. But you feel great for about 5 minutes, right? And then you feel bloated and lethargic.
You feel like shit, yeah.
You feel like shit. And then do you ever get to the end of eating, not chicken and rice, because that makes it sound like we want you to be bodybuilders, just something not as as healthy, greasy, all that sort of stuff. Do
Yeah,
you
like
ever
a
sit there
chicken
and go,
curry.
oh, I feel like shit? Yeah. No. So, start like coming back to what I said, treat everything like a scientific experiment. If we are optimizing for the outcome, way down there making as much money as possible to set ourselves up for the rest of our lives. That comes as a byproduct by facilitating transformation.
Yep.
Facilitating transformation is showing up sharp, understanding where people are at, and giving them the confidence and conviction that we can help them get to where they need to be. Before that is the internal work. Sorry, then you have the script, then you have the internal work, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you miss that, all of this is fucked.
Mic drop.
Blue tack drop.
Blue tack drop. That's our thing now. Blue tack
We're
drop.
bringing blue tack back.
And the Mo back. The Mo and the blue tack.
The Mo and the blue tack.
Right, brother.
No, we'll bring the blue tack. We'll leave the Mo in November.
I might not.
Well, there we go.
Whatever.
Well, I'll just AI it out. I'll allow it for November when we're uploading. I'll just AI the fucking thing.
Just fucking color grade it out. Right, buddy.
Yeah.
I'll see you on the
There
next
we
one.
go. See you the next one.
Cheers, bro.